Hello, I'm Michael. This is Tarot by the Tree. Today we're on part 4 of the discussions as we're working our way down through the Tree of Life and eventually through the Tree of Knowledge as well. As a recap, we started at the top of the Tree of the Life with the Magician. All things are possible with the Magician, but none of them exist in our world yet. The second card down, the High Priestess. All things now exist in our world. There's a vast expulsion of everything you can imagine, like the Big Bang. Moving across now, we complete the upper triad and we move into the Empress, who takes all the raw materials and through processes like restriction, she's able to come up with something else, a new kind of life. Today we move into the Emperor. We leave now the upper realm, the supernal triad, and we come down into what's known as the archetypes of our world. The Emperor is the first of these. And as we've said, the manifestation of the Tree of Life started with the Magician, who is everything. The next two were created at the same time, the High Priestess and the Empress, like sister and brother. The pair we're talking about now is very similar, sister and brother. We've got the Hierophant on one side, who is like a priest, like a great teacher. And we have the Emperor on the other side, and he is who we're talking about today. The Emperor is a man with a single-tiered crown. He sits on a great stone throne. He is wrapped in scarlet robes of office, and underneath he has an impenetrable armor. In one hand, he holds a glowing orb. In the other hand, he holds a glowing scepter. Behind him are golden mountains, and above that, a radiant sky. The Emperor is the archetypical wise man. He is the King of Kings. He may not be typical in the fact that he is not the raging warrior kind of king. He has great power in many areas. And it's very simplistic to describe this person as having attributes. It may be more accurate to say that he is the archetype of these attributes. The Emperor has a number of things: compassion, strength, wisdom, attractiveness, and charisma. But again, these aren't things he has, these are things that are within him. The idea of compassion. The Emperor sits on the pillar of mercy, the pillar of growth. The Emperor is all about forgiveness and acceptance. He embodies compassion, and compassion is a lesson that the Emperor spreads throughout the other cards. Compassion is a way of judging your actions so as not to get sorrow. It's a way of using your power without hurting yourself in the process. Compassion is probably the source of the wisdom of the Emperor. As far as strength goes, that's not even in contention. There is nobody stronger than the Emperor. He doesn't demonstrate it. And if we want more on the idea of strength that doesn't have to be demonstrated, we'll look at that later with the strength in the Sun card. The idea that charisma emanates from the Emperor seems like such a simple thing to say, and perhaps you've met somebody who everybody likes. There are some people you could put with royalty, or you could put them in a fishing boat or a logging camp and they'd thrive. They have a personality and an understanding that bridges all the different types of people. The Emperor is that. It's probably more accurate than saying he has that. People might say the emperor is a nice king. He um, he has a tendency to forgive. He wants to share. He listens. He pays attention. And again, we can dismiss these as nice attributes, or we can say it is a form of power and it's a form of strength. And those things the emperor has. The emperor is the person you want to listen to, you want to follow, you want to devote yourself to. You just do. All of your senses, all of your life, all of your judgment will be realized in the character of the emperor. Uh, he personifies greatness. His sister, who was born at the same time, created at the same time, is a Hierophant. And they are two very powerful characters, and perhaps in medieval times we would refer to the emperor as head of the kingdom and the Hierophant as head of the temple. The population revered both. They're both very important. Today we're looking at the emperor. The emperor's job isn't really to teach the people the way the Hierophant does. The emperor's job is to gather, keep, control, and lead the people. People flock to him. He is the leader that all people want to be led by. And for a long time this works. He is the end of tribal rivalries. He is the end of constant wars. He is the end of roving bands of pillagers. He makes society. There is another side to the emperor, and we will get that later on the second tree. When the idea is that the first tree is taught to younger people up to the age of 40. The second tree is taught to people after they've experienced life and have come to accept it. The emperor on this first tree is everything I've told you about, powerful and charismatic. What we're taught later on is that any person who is adored for too long will change slightly, and they will need this adoration, and they will start to believe things about them that may be greater than they really are. But we'll cover that later. But for now, the emperor is everything. He's everything that humans want or desire. Just take a moment now for a concept break. I don't know if I've really covered it, and even covering it, it's going to sound strange. And I don't know a really good way of doing it, but we're talking about the tree of life, and we're talking about the cards starting at the top and working their way down. We want to know, are these all characters? Do they interact? Do they get along? One way of looking at it is that the progression of the tree of life is the progression of the all consciousness or God or universal intellect down into a place of relative darkness. And they're doing that like playing a game of hide and seek in the dark. It's fun. Having said that, I realize how lame it sounds and that nobody is supposed to ever know what God or the creative universe wants, or nobody can attribute motives to these higher things. And I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to reduce this to kind of an analogy so we can understand. The magician is all things suspended. As the magician moves down, he becomes the high priestess, the materialization of everything. And from there, almost instantly, he is the empress, who is able to distill reality into a new essence, and that is the emperor. The emperor, as mentioned, is the archetype of our realm. He is the ultimate leader, ruler. He brings together all different things. Why don't we look at a few of the questions now, and we'll see what people are asking.
How is the Emperor related to the Four of Cups?
And when you're reading fortunes, it's helpful to remember that all the four cards of the minor arcana participate in this four card of the major arcana. The Emperor card is number 4, and all the minor 4 cards are going to be somewhat related to his aspect. We'll start with the Four of Cups. In the Four of Cups, we see somebody who should be happy with everything they have. They're seated on the ground beside a tree. From a cloud emerges a hand holding a single cup. At their feet are 3 cups. In the Four of Cups, this is a person who some people might say they have everything. And yet there's something being offered that they don't seem to have any use for. Well, keep in mind, the Emperor is on the side of mercy and growth, and the Four of Clubs, the Four of Cups will participate in that. This person is not angry. They're contemplative. They have what they need, and they are not just seeking happiness, they're seeking a certain kind of higher happiness.
How is the Emperor related to the Four of Staffs?
As the Emperor is very highest in our world, he is the ruler of this reality. We see in the Four of Staves, 4 staves garlanded together, and underneath them a dancing couple holding flowers. In the background rises a castle. These people are joyously celebrating the security of where they are, and more than that, the plans for where they go after that. It is this kind of security that the Emperor brings. And again, we'll note that this card is a merciful card of growth.
How is the Emperor related to the Four of Coins?
4 of Coins shows a man sitting on maybe a stone or a concrete bench. In his hand, he holds tightly a coin. There's a coin on his head, and there's a coin under each foot. In the background is a city. He wears a kind of rudimentary crown on his head. This is a man who realizes some things about the suit of coins, which is possessions and money. He realizes it is not just about showing off or buying toys. It is the essence of his security and his well-being. If he is going to be autonomous and not be holding to other people, he needs to have a base of security, and that is measured in the attribute of coinage.
How is the Emperor related to the Four of Swords?
The Four of Swords is going to be a little bit of a confusing relationship to draw here. In the Four of Swords, there is a man in a boat pulling across a river to the other side. In the boat, it looks like his young son and wife are there. His wife is draped in a shawl. On the front of the boat, standing, are a collection of his swords. This is a man who is taking all of his belongings and he is moving to another shore. The idea here is that he is powerful and he has used his power and he probably accomplished his end, but the repercussions are that he has to leave town. And that's what he's doing now. He's in no distress, he is in no danger. But as I've mentioned before, the swords are two-edged. He used his great power, and there is a time of sorrow now, a sorrow of having to move to another place.
Who is more powerful, the Emperor or King of Swords?
This is a really interesting question. Without a doubt, the Emperor is the king of all kings. But here's the thing. The King of Swords would never challenge the Emperor. King of Swords would recognize the Emperor and follow him, as all people do. The emperor is about our need to belong and to follow, and we see it fulfilled in him. But to just briefly answer the question, um, there's really no one in our world more powerful than the emperor, but he's a really nice guy and probably wouldn't hurt you.
How is the emperor different from the high priestess?
They're really very different. The high priestess, who's a real contradiction, he's a man, he's a woman. He brings balance into the whole world, and everything is released from the high priestess into reality without thought, without any filters, without worrying about repercussions. The emperor is not like that. The emperor is very decisive about what he does. We have to remember that the emperor wears a single crown. The emperor is very interested in this world, and that's what kings are interested in. In this case, he takes a bit of the queen's role of a preserver as much as a conqueror.
Back to the actual card, why does the emperor wear armor?
The emperor wears armor so we can dispense with all these questions of who's more powerful. The emperor wears this armor because he cannot be hurt. Just can't. Nobody would want to. It's beyond belief that anybody who encounters the emperor wants to follow him. If that's not enough reason not to ever fear an attack, the emperor wears the kind of armor that prevents injury of all kinds.
Why are the mountains behind him gold?
As mentioned at the beginning of this, we've left the supernal trinity at the very top, and we've moved down into the archetypes of our world. We're not really in our world yet, but these are the archetypes from what our world was built from. And can you just read me that last question? I just have a feeling I just was going to say something.
Why are the mountains
Oh, yeah.
behind him gold?
The mountains are gold because above him, behind him, is the upper triad of the magician, the high priestess, and the empress. These are the rarefied realms of absolute power that work in conjunction to make the whole tree of life and tree of knowledge possible. So this will end the emperor card. I think the main points is we have an all-powerful card. He is on the side of growth and mercy. This is not a man who would swagger. This is not a man who threatens or gets angry. And this is a man that you might say brings out the best in everybody. Thank you for watching. See you later.
Yay.